it takes some pain, and I don't mean go beat a kid. I'm not saying that. It takes some pain telling a kid no and letting a child figure things out, and that it is tough out there, and hard work and these kind of things. Make your kid get out. Like if you're 55 years old and you have a 16-year-old kid and you're out mowing the yard and that kid's inside playing video games, there's a disconnect there.
Yep, you've done damage. You have been conditioned by the kid.
Yes. And you're conditioning the kid to have something that's not going to be helpful to them in life. If they can't clean their own clothes, if they don't know how to wash dishes or use a dishwasher, they don't know how to sweep, clean.
If mom is still cooking and doing dishes and laundry for them at age 35, and they can't even make their own bed.
Yes. And yet it's someone else's fault. That's when that becomes manifest. They're 25, 30. They have trouble getting a job. They have trouble fitting in. And who do they blame? They blame mom and dad.
And then they go to social media looking for that reinforcement. Go to social media.
Right? And then they hurl insults trying to tear people down to make them feel like they do. And then they end up being in prison in Japan, where everyone cooks and cleans for them. No, I'm just kidding. That's terrible.
What's interesting is in the school system, the children actually do some of the cooking and the cleaning of the school starting in elementary school. So they have a humbled experience that they do have a custodian, obviously, but a lot of the day-to-day cleaning up your own mess is done by the students themselves, which I think adds an interesting social awareness that we don't have here. Here, sometime between the age of 6 and 16, we lose the give a damn, where, any 5, 6-year-old child is going to be absolutely OCD about any trash or litter. But by the time they're 16, they're throwing entire 12 packs of beer out the window on the road.
Yeah. And,
you saw after...
that old saying, an idle mind is the devil's workshop is an idle mind. Particularly so with kids. Any
event outdoor, whether it's music, political, whatever, when the people leave, the place is trashed.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in Japan.
It doesn't. And there is a humility that is cultural in some places, and Japan being one of them. That it's something that honors parents differently. There are cultural things. I've always believed that race wasn't the problem in our country, that it was a culture. There are certain groups that have a cultural challenge, and it's not race, because there's other groups that have none of those issues, and it's a cultural thing.
And these cultures seem to think that they supersede. Had a lady, one of my favorite court cam explosion videos, the woman is upset with the judge because the judge wants her to have a lawyer, and she's saying, God is my lawyer. It's like, wait a minute, no. Your concept of God's law and man's law needs to be straightened out, because you're going to prison for a long time unless you get your stuff wired.
Well, doesn't that go back to what we were talking about? Now, in that particular instance, either that person has a mental problem, which is also a real deal, or they have this societal problem. We talked about this narcissism where I'm right, you're wrong. I don't care what the truth is. I'm right. I don't care. You know what? I didn't pay my
emotions are more important than facts.
That's right. What my opinion supersedes facts. I mean, there was a story today, and I'll be talking about it later on the radio, about a USA Today journalist was fired because she fabricated 26 different sources to attack conservatives. Completely in multiple stories. She fabricated sources that didn't exist. So she turned her opinion into a source, put it in a story in a national publication. Completely, it's like if you're so good, if your way of looking at the world is right, there's plenty of ways to document that and do your research and find good sources. But she didn't. Just took the shortcut, created sources. USA didn't check it and printed it.
Oh.
And that's the kind of problem that is unfortunately created a situation where we have the lowest trust in journalistic enterprises and government. It's not. I mean, the CDC's been wrong so many different times, and pushed political things over scientific things. That we've got a lot of work to the FBI. I mean, right now, trust in organizations, from left and right, by the way. It's not universally just the right, but trust in these institutions, which you and I grew up with some degree of reverence, doesn't exist. And that's inherently bad. It's one thing during Vietnam when you hated government policies and people were protesting it. That was good, healthy kind of protest. But now you don't even know who to trust. Which organization do you want to replace the FBI with if you don't like them? There isn't one. Who do you replace the CDC with? Who else? I mean, when I was growing up, and even into the 90s, the CDC was who you were thankful to have there because they were on the front lines of an Ebola outbreak in the Congo or a hantavirus outbreak in the desert Southwest, and you really wanted them to contain and cripple it and save society, or Legionnaire's disease. But now they've been just warped into stuff that they've made so many bad decisions.
There was a number during that, I think during our upbringing, like I knew the WHO, CDC existed, but they were kind of like my insurance policy. I didn't want to know about them unless I had to.
Sure.
Right? So they were quietly doing their thing, which, we trusted that to happen, and I still trust it to happen. What I don't trust is people who are uneducated in science making opinions about what scientists are saying or discovering or disclosing. So that became a very serious debate. Yeah, we have a very serious disconnect between educated people and the ignorant that are just regurgitating, 5-word memes.
And they don't regurgitate in context. That's another problem. They regurgitate a piece of something, and the right and the left do it. I'm not gonna say there's some kind of.
Well, that's how you sell cars, carpets, and candy bars. That's how you get clicks.
That's fine. That's advertising. That's different. But when you're dealing in the my life, it's different if the car salesman, oh my God, it's the greatest car ever made. This thing will go 100,000 miles without needing an oil change. I'm lying. They don't do that, but that's great. You're trying to sell me a car. You're exaggerating the aspects of the vehicle. It's another thing when you say, oh, if you just put this asbestos in your house, it's really not that bad for you. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's very different. When, hey, I want to have lead paint throughout my house. Yes, that's fine. There's no harm there. You want your government agencies to have some degree of veracity when they are telling you things. So, this is where truth-seeking becomes, for someone like me, that I really have to dig in to multiple sources, cross-reference things, and make sure there's some degree of accuracy to the opinions that I believe. And I had several callers yesterday that, and it's hard because, for instance, if you and I were to compare religious beliefs, I suspect that you and I would disagree on some of those things, and that's fine. And I respect your beliefs, and I have mine. A lot of people, even some of the callers I had yesterday, made some statements that I personally, with my faith, disagree with. And I have to be real careful when I'm speaking to those folks to respect what they say, even though I may disagree with it, and move the conversation forward. And that's a very difficult thing to do because a lot of times people will stay with their, and you've heard me say this before, people will stay with their spouses if they agree with them 60 to 80% of the time. And a lot of times that's a good day, okay? But they'll stay with them. But in political realms and in religious, race, politics discussion, if you disagree with someone 10% of the time, you're ready to burn them at the stake. Fair. And that's where we're not very, when I like to talk about tolerant, the left is not tolerant. If I disagree with them on something, they're ready to burn me at the stake. They claim wokeism and all these things, but they're not very tolerant. And that's an alarming, it's a propensity that leads to violence. And that's where we've got to get away from. I mean, if, for instance, the Kavanaugh almost assassination, had that been Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that would have been the front page news. I want a society where whoever is attacked or getting ready to be killed, they are treated the exact same, whether it's Ruth Bader Ginsburg or Clarence Thomas. And we have a bifurcation in the society, left and right, that is scary, and that's what's feeding a lot of the fear and distrust now.
And now we're basing policy on it.
Unfortunately, we are. And the Ministry of Truth, the disinformation group, that was. I mean, you can laugh at it, but I mean, it was really close to becoming a reality.
That's actually in a book that I read.
Yeah, Orwell was rolling over in his grave and, saying, "Oh, see, I told you this would happen."
Yeah,
And
1984.
thankfully,
That's straight out of that book.
luckily it was, yep, luckily it was thrown out. But mind you, it was only thrown out for now. That's problematic.
Right, they have to repackage it, make it prettier, and then when they bring it back, everybody's going to eat it like an Oreo. They're going to dip it in milk
Yeah,
and
and even some of these press conferences, I don't. And of course, I'm a conservative, so I'm going to, I think this administration, I think even Democrats are troubled by this administration when they say, "Hey, the economy's fine, inflation's not a problem." When they say these kind of things, or on the one hand, they go out and say, "Hey, they're going to Saudi Arabia and asking for more oil, and they're going to considering a discussion with Venezuela, or they're saying we need to get more," and then on the other hand, blaming oil companies for not doing more. And then when they're asked in a press conference yesterday, "Hey, does this mean that you guys, when you got elected, said you were going to try to end oil? Or is that off the table now?" And they said, "No, it's not off the table." So you can't say I want to end oil and then go out and say I want to get more and then blame the oil companies for not getting more when I've told you I want to end you. How do you reconcile those things? And it's just
with the bank account.
Well, to me, it's an Alice in Wonderland way of looking at things. It's just this little door, big door. You go through the little door, you're big again. It's just whoever's writing the teleprompter stuff, I don't know if they're being comedic or if they're just, if they're a ministry of truth kind of person. They just believe what I tell you. And if I say it often enough, it becomes truth.
Oh, yeah, that's been proven. That's been used. That's common
practice. But people aren't
practice.
buying it now. They're not. And I don't know where it goes. I don't know what happens. But it's not healthy. It's just not a healthy thing. Truth has a way of coming out over
What
time.
about America
and
overall is healthy? I mean, we are the fattest, most obese nation on the planet. We consume the most unhealthy
why are we
food.
Why are we the fattest, most obese nation?
Because we are a disgusting species. I have classified us as our own species, hominis americanus. And we are disgusting, selfish pigs.
I think Shakespeare's Hamlet, I think it's in Hamlet, what a work is man, and form and moving, how angelic, in action, how like an angel in apprehension, how like a god, the paragon of animals, something to that effect.
Right.
And I think that what is great about humankind, we are both the worst and the best. And in Isaac Asimov's Ascent of Man, he says in the very beginning, first chapter, he's talking about that humans are the only species on the planet that cannot survive in any environment on the planet without altering the environment in which they live.
Yep.
And the modern manifestation of that is Naked and Afraid. You see how frail we really are when you put somebody in the jungle with nothing. You see how pathetic we really become and how we waste away and make, famine-infested Ethiopians look healthier. So
yep.
We have to do that. So that means that we're a dynamic. We're not a static species. We're a dynamic species, and we can do great things like put people on the moon in the worst environment known, outside this protected, magical atmosphere, and put them on the moon with less power than we have in a cell phone today. That's almost magical that we could have done that with the technology that existed in the 60s, but we did it. So those kind of heights of human achievement in defeating some forms of cancer, in the way in which, I'll give you an example, the way a toilet flushes, the fact that a toilet can deliver the worst effluent and treat it and recycle that water and bring it back. Modern sanitary aspects of our life, water that you turn the faucet on and there's water coming out. We take it for granted, but it's really magnificent engineering that creates this opportunity. Or that you can go to the store and get a pineapple from Costa Rica, that's in the field 3 days before and sitting on your shelf, within days in a place that you can actually eat it and it's not rotted. It's from insulin. The production of insulin that has to be produced from pigs and then kept cold and delivered to you somehow that you can use it, and to which we have, 57 million, 13% of West Virginia's population uses insulin. So these are magnificent things that get overshadowed by the stupid things like we're going to sit in a highway and block cars because we're protesting the environment, or the me generation. We are, the fat, like you said, the obesity, that somehow we can't fat shame anymore because that would be you would hurt somebody's feelings. Well, they're hurting themselves, and encouraging them to hurt themselves is abusive. You
Right,
don't encourage
and being
people to hurt
soft.
themselves.
It's like I think we need more of the football coach. I mean, I'm not a big fan of football because it generally generates a lot of bullies overall because it's a very
Well, I'm glad that they're on the
microcosm.
field because they'd be in the prison if they weren't on the field.
Right.
I'm sorry, that sounds terrible, but there are a lot of some of the
It's
most
a very high
powerful, violent
incident
people
rate.
on the planet.
I'll say that.
Yeah,
But
but to your point,
the coaching that I get from my guitar teacher, he's not telling me where to put my fingers. He's coaching me on how not to suck. Right? And that's sort of what we
fair
need
point.
in our friends is someone who's not like, tatting you on the back telling you what a great
It's
person
honest
you
with-
are.
that's
But they're honest
That's
and
honest.
saying, look, dude,
Yes.
this isn't
You
cool.
need to, yeah.
You can't
To
be
your
like
point,
the emperor with no clothes or whatever it is.
You said about fat and slovenly and obese. Why are we that way? And that's the question I asked. We are that way because we are one of the freest society. We are one of. In some aspects, we're not as free. In some aspects, we're more free. We are the freest society on the planet, number one. Number two, many folks have an entitlement attitude, and they haven't been told, don't do that. When I see a fat kid, when I was a kid, the fat kid, there was like one maybe. And, everyone kind of picked on him, unfortunately, and that kid probably suffered some bullying. But that kid's obesity, most of the time, almost always was the parent's fault.
Right.
And now we shove kids full of carbs, and the parents, you can look at the kid and see the kid is on a trajectory to be far bigger than the parent most of the time. And, they're giving them fast food. They're not giving them any nutrition in a proper way. And then when a kid hits 350 pounds and they're on my 600-pound life getting gastric bypass surgery and it's not working out well, we feel terrible. But we are the victims of our own success. Back to what we talked about earlier. With success comes responsibility. With success comes discipline. And I think that we have a large swath of society that doesn't want those things, that doesn't have discipline, that doesn't have respect, that doesn't have that ethic. And those are the folks that will be the first to blame you or me or someone else for their problems, instead of ever looking in the mirror going, you know what, I'm eating too damn much.
And I was going to say, along the lines that success has responsibility, that just having rights, right? Being a citizen in the United States, I think, has a certain set of rights and responsibilities that go with those rights.
Yes.
Just
but
like
the Bill
it's
of Rights doesn't say Bill of Rights and responsibilities. Responsibilities are assumed. They are critical for that right. Without responsibility, we have no rights.
And apparently we have lost that understanding. So maybe we should legislate that. I mean, we've been trying to legislate morality for, 100 years now, so,
Well, you can say that, but again, society continues to evolve. And that's, a lot of the mistakes that we've made in this society, the beauty of this country is we overcome those obstacles. The things that we've done, nobody would pretend that this country is without warts, that this country is without scars, that this country is without mistakes. I would be the first to say, man, we've made some terrible ones. Anyway, I got someone knocking at the door. That's pretty bizarre.
Well, I should take a
Sorry
news
about
break.
that. To your listeners, that was weird.
No.
So, but we overcome those obstacles, and we framed them in the right way. Slavery at a certain point in time, in a certain point in civilization, was looked at through the lens of that time. And then we judge it today, and it looks warped because we're judging things that happened 200 years ago through the lens of today. And the same thing with whether it's the Great Depression or World War I, World War II, the Civil War. It's hard to believe that more people died in that conflict than all the other wars combined that we've had from an American standpoint. I mean, and that's a great disagreement. People, I've never seen this country in a sadder state or more disagreeable. Yeah, you may not have lived through the Civil War, but it's documented that it was pretty bad. And this narcissism that we've never been at each other's throats like this. Yeah, we have. We've literally been at each other's throats. Literally. Cousins against cousins, brothers against brothers. It was a horrible time. So we just need to learn from history and not repeat that, become more tolerant, more humble, more open-minded, and we need to be able to address problems head on. And I think the obesity one is a big one. I mean, we've got an obesity/diabetic. I was touring with some doctors this week from Costa Rica, and one of them, he deals with gastric bypass surgeries, and he lectures every time. He's like, folks, you got to stop eating like this. He says, you're killing your society. He literally lectures them. You don't want to end up on my table. You're probably going to, but don't do it. You don't want to. That's not the solution to your problem. The solution to your problem is stop eating. And they just roll their eyes at him and stuff. And I'm just like,
it makes too much money.
He's trying to help you. He's trying to help you. But they don't. They don't want to walk away from those Krispy Kreme donuts, man.
No, sir.
They're good to melt in your mouth.
Oh, yeah. You put butter on it. Makes it even better. A couple of seconds in the microwave.
I did not know that. You
put
butter on a Krispy Kreme donut?
If you take a glazed donut, a little bit of butter on the top, and nuke it for like 14 seconds, you will have the most amazing breakfast with coffee ever.
You and your life, it's like people that put salt on watermelon. Mystifies me.
Well, it has to be the right salt. You can't just put table salt. It has to be like rock salt or that pink salt, rose salt, whatever.
Oh, my gosh. See?
Same works on chocolate.
I'm too old-fashioned. You walk out in a field, you break open a watermelon, you eat the heart out of it.
That's how I grew up. And then one day I saw grilled.
And it's an African fruit. We forget that came from Africa. Yet another great thing that came from Africa.
And then somebody grilled a slice of pineapple,
now that is amazing. Now I will say, grilling pineapple is fantastic.
Well, grilling that or watermelon, I was like, "What are you doing?" And then I had it, and I was like,
"Grilled watermelon." I figured it would evaporate like cotton candy or something.
Nope, it caramelizes. It leaves little grill marks. I mean, you don't cook it like an entire burger, to get it well done.
See, but if I was entitled, I would say TK's wrong. That never happens. See, but you know what? I learned something.
Well, some people I found out.
Dude, I got to roll.
Get out of here.
I want to say I appreciate what you and Andrew are doing, and Yael, and what I see in the evolution of this digital media format and what you guys have been able to do and accomplish. And as we move forward, what I'd like to try to bring to the table next, just thank you. I mean, that falls
next
far
week.
short.
Let's make a plan that every morning next week you join me, and we'll have call-ins.
Well, see, I'll be further west next week on the road. So
you got a laptop.
I'll try to figure out.
Come on now.
Yeah, but I don't know. I might be in the middle of a forest somewhere. So, but we will, and in remote places, it may not have cell phone connectivity, which makes me very happy, by the way. But we will try to do something, okay? I got on this morning, and TK harassed me enough and said, you have to do this. And he shamed me. See, he shamed me into doing it. So I'm not mad at him for doing it. See, I needed to. So he...
You needed a coach. You didn't need a pillow. You needed a coach.
True. Thank you, TK, and thanks for all you do. Okay, man?
Sure thing. And I tell you what, we're going to take a news and weather break, and when we come back, we should have Andrew with us. Thank you so much, Chad. I hope you have a great day, and we will see you on Monday, if not before. How's that? Oh, he jumped. Wait, are you there? Nope, he's gone. All right. With that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break and be right back here on the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad.
Keeping Leland informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
I am State Farm Agent Rob Renz, and I want to help you get to a better place. Visit us online at ilminsurance.com. That's ilminsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
My husband had a gun. Him and his friends would go shooting. The ammunition, unfortunately, was not stored separately. In a million years, we never thought that Emily could. There's a hole in our family that can never, ever be filled.
63 Americans a day die by gun suicide. With safe gun storage, we can give our loved ones a second chance at life. Learn more at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
O'Leary's Automotive Repair has multiple locations in the area in Hampstead, Leland, the Myrtle Grove area, Ogden, and Wrightsboro. O'Leary's Automotive Repair, a trusted, locally owned business since 2006.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. The hand-to-eye recount in the New Hanover County Board of Education race is now complete, and the results have flipped again. The initial canvass showed incumbent Nelson Beaulieu had lost to newcomer Jenna Bosch by 2 votes. Late yesterday, the recount showed Beaulieu has now beaten Bosch by 2 votes. That puts him on the ballot this November. Bosch has not indicated whether she will challenge the results. She has until this afternoon to do that. There have been 3 drownings in Oak Island this year, and it's not even officially summer. Oak Island Water Rescue Chief says that there were only 2 last year and none the year before that. Last summer, Oak Island Water Rescue installed signs at every beach access that, with the click of a phone, can give you a real-time look at the level of a rip current risk. But the chief says all 3 incidents this year happened on days where the risk of rip currents was moderate. And some local organizations have had trouble hiring lifeguards this summer. This is affecting the whole Cape Fear coast. Wrightsville Beach is minimally staffed this year compared to years past, and Fort Fisher has only half the staff it needs. According to Fort Fisher Park Ranger and Lifeguard Supervisor Jason Howard, the state park was trying to hire 6 lifeguards this season. On the first day of training, every new hire was a no-show. Since then, Howard has been able to assemble 3 of the 6 lifeguards he needs for a busy beach season. And in Southport, the city is mourning the loss of former mayor and police chief Jerry Dove. Dove lived in Southport for more than 3 decades. He served as a police officer starting in 1994, before serving as police chief beginning in 2003, then as mayor of the town from 2015 to 2019. Dove was also a U.S. Army Reserve and U.S. Air Force veteran. Funeral arrangements for Dove have not yet been made. You can find a statement from current mayor Joe Pat Hayden on our website. And for more on all these stories, you can head over to wwaytv3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
I'm meteorologist Matthew Huddleston with your WWAY Storm Track 3 AccuWeather forecast. We're going to have a very hot and humid day for the last day of the week today. Highs soaring all the way into the upper 90s to near 100, with a heat advisory from noon today until 7 p.m. tonight, as well as some stratospheric storms scattered in nature pushing their way through later on this evening, but drying out overnight for a dry day on Saturday. Highs on Saturday likely in the lower 90s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by 2 Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to 2menandatruck.com. 2menandatruck.com.
Our founders expected judges to apply, not make, our laws. I'm Trey Allen, conservative candidate for the North Carolina Supreme Court. More than 20 years ago, I began my legal career by joining the Marine Corps and taking an oath to support and defend the United States Constitution. As a justice on our state Supreme Court, I will continue to protect the Constitution by basing my rulings on the Founders' intent, not my personal views. Paid for by Trey Allen for Justice.
Teachers and parents, the North Carolina Symphony is here to support you as you carry on the education of your children and students. Take your kids on a free virtual field trip to the Symphony with a virtual education concert and companion student book. Go on a virtual journey to learn what makes music music, with music by William Grant Still, Beethoven, Brahms, and more. Access the free video and student book with password 1932 at ncsymphony.org/virtual.
Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want, by asking for Big Talker.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge here in a world gone mad. Another half hour left of the broadcast week or so. Let's see. BigTalker.live, that's right. Go to the website, listen live tab, peruse the usable content, all kinds of stuff. Every show you ever wanted to see right here on the Big Talker is available at thebigtalker.live. Download the app for Android and iOS. All of it is there. It's really cool. I like that track. Anyway, it was really cool to have Chad Adams join us. He's been something of a busy camper over the last couple of months and been hard to tie him down, track him down, you know, get him in the phone line, get him into the system, into the rotation, and you know, get him out there, get him busy, get him working. He's got some. He's more conservative than I am. I'll say that, right? He has a haircut. He wears a suit and button downs and that sort of thing. And I'm still, you know, How did your boy put it? It's perfect for me. Don't ask me what I think of you. I might not give the answer that you want me to. I ain't pretty, can't sing. I ain't pretty and my legs are thin, or something like that. Whatever those words are. It's about right. And I don't think that shaming. So it seems that we have crossed over our sense of rhetoric and terminology, the connotations of the 180,000 words that are in the English language, right? When trying to help someone, I mean, my friends, I want my friends to be honest with me. I want my friends to call me on it, congratulate me when I did something good, but more importantly, help me see what I cannot see for myself. And the more you surround yourself with a, echo chamber, you end up, the naked emperor. And then, people like me who are a little less, constrained by these mentalities or ideologies is looking at you like, really? I mean, that's why when I look at somebody at the gas station who's strutting around like some, bantam rooster on his jacked up truck with the fancy lights and chrome wheels and whatever else, and I'm like, I do more work with my station wagon than you will ever do with that piece of crap. And the strutting that you do is it's not insulting, it's tiring. Right? I was taught in performance, right? When you're on the stage and you're doing your thing, you do it at 110%. When you get off the stage, you are the same human being who puts their pants on one leg at a time as everybody else. That's not struttable. I have strutted as a bantam rooster, usually after an insane, successfully, one of the ones that sticks out in my head is the event we had in Florence, Kentucky, y'all. Storm came out of nowhere and was just destroying everything, and we had a broadcast to do. We're broadcasting the lottery. We're under, obligation. We have to get this thing out. It must happen. I came up with a plan, a solution, and it was legally right because we have auditors and oversight and all this stuff that we have to abide by, right? When you're doing the lottery, every ball is weighed 2 or 3 times with 2 or 3 different sets of eyeballs to make sure that there's no inconsistencies or whatever, right? I mean, there's a hardcore oversight. And they didn't know what to do. And when I came up with my plan, I had to keep all of that in mind. That it has to have the oversight, right? They have to have documentation that, this was our pre-run, this is our post-run, because they do like 5 drawings. And the one that we air is the one in the middle, but the other 4 are to guarantee that it is a random experience. So the first 2 are like a test, and then we do the game. And then 4 and 5 are to further ensure, right? So we had to go through all of that with limited technology available because of the storm was just brutal. I mean, it was rocking the truck I was in. I could not hear myself think to program this change. Once the drawing happened, right, everybody had to go through their thing and all that, and we all did the documentation. Everybody had a camera. Everybody was paying attention. And my job was sitting there at the crux, at the nexus of it all. And once it was done, thank you, Telco. That is all from Louisville, Kentucky at this time. Or actually Florence, Kentucky at this time. I was a very happy camper. My crew was very happy. My boss was ecstatic. That I strutted a few steps that day. That was earned. But the fact that you have Daddy's truck does not give you any sort of bantam roostering. I'm sorry, I'm going off on the side here. I think I have a friend with us now. Our friend Andrew Donaldson has joined us from an undisclosed location in Vietnam in his bunker.
Yeah, my office. Hi.
Morning.
Morning. How are you?
I am up. I am at it. The coffee is kicking in. We actually had Chad Adams on the line. Uh-oh. Did I lose you?
How did that go?
It was a lot of fun. I haven't seen him in a minute. You know, it was good to.
Chad's always a good chat.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. He's got good insight on the world, more so than I.
I don't know about all that, but okay.
Yeah, and this morning was a bit of a challenge getting my technical stuff together, so I admit I did not catch as much of your show as I normally do. Can you fill me in on anything I may have missed?
It was the best show ever.
Oh, well, now I feel even better.
No, it was a good show. We got into some deep, deep water with Michael Siegel. We went through all the January 6th stuff. We went through the Doug Mastriano stuff. We went through the Ashley Babbitt stuff. We went through the Trump stuff. We went through the congressional hearing stuff. We did about 33 minutes on January 6th.
Anybody going to jail?
The people that the Justice Department charged, the January 6th committee has no ability to prosecute anybody.
Right.
They can make a criminal referral, but it's going to go to the Justice Department, and the Justice Department has already pretty much charged everybody they're going to charge, unless they have charges come out of the investigation they got going. They got 750 some people charged. About half of those have been discharged already because they were, minor offenses, plea deals, whatever the case may be. They've got about 30 or 40 what they're calling major cases working that are going to go to trial and or be contested. So everybody that's been arrested has basically been arrested at this point. I hate to tell you, with very few exceptions, because January 6th committee can't arrest anybody, which is why you should have never had a January 6th committee. This should have been a special prosecutor in the first place. But we'll deal with that some other time. We talk about that. Great piece from LD Burnett over at Ordinary Times today, talking about how people say art needs to take a backseat to the culture wars, and she argues with an example from the 17th century and the reign of James II that art is essential, and this is something you've been writing about in a roundabout way too. Art is not only essential to culture wars, they are the critique and counterbalance to the culture wars.
They are to me, they seem to be, they're like a snapshot of where we are in the development.
Yeah, in fact, I hope you read that piece because I actually want your feedback on it.
I'm hoping to get her on the show now.
LD Burnett, I'm going to try to have her on next week. I don't know if she even does media or not. She's a new writer. She's a well-known writer, university professor. She's new to Ordinary Times. We've actually been trying to get her for a while and finally got her. We have some amazing guests this week. Daniel DiMartino, if you missed him, you need to go listen to him. He's from Argentina. He talks about communism as somebody who had to flee it and come to America. He set up the Dissident Project. There's a list of people in the Dissident Project. We should probably put all of them on the guest list for both our shows. Grace Jo, her whole family was killed coming out of North Korea.
Damn.
These people, Cuba, Argentina, North Korea, Hong Kong, Singapore. These are people. This is not buzzword stuff off social media. This is people who've lived through it and can tell you what happens when a totalitarian regime takes over. I just booked a guy in the UK that I've been wanting to talk to for a while, where it looks like that interview is going to happen on Monday. I've got an interview here in a minute with Gary and Frankel, who's been on the show before. Going to talk to him in just a few minutes for an upcoming show. We're rolling, man. I know I had to take some time off, but we really had a strong week on Heard Tell, and next week's is going to be Albie Amakona from over in the UK. We're going to have him on. That's going to be an insanely good interview. You have to hear this guy. He's a graduate of the London School of Economics. People who don't know what that's the economic equivalent in Europe of going to Harvard. Like that's elite level stuff. He's that smart, but he talks in a very plain spoken way. He's also the chairman of Conservatives Against Racism. We're going to talk about the difference in racism between the UK and Europe and America, because there's it's a universal problem, but it manifests itself very, very differently. So we're going to get into that with him. Trying to get LD Burnett on. I'm going to try Molly. Poor Molly McCluskey. We've been like 3 weeks trying. She was going to be on the week I went in the hospital, so I've got to reschedule her. Hopefully get her on the program. The Young Voices Cruise. We got some of the consumer choice people we're reaching out to. In fact, I got to Yalel message me. I got to message him back. Going to try to get some of them on. We're rolling, man. I don't know what the end of the summer is going to hold, but for the next couple of weeks, we're going to actually hammer the crap out of it and do some really, really good high-end shows.
Yeah, I've got my hands full, that's for sure. Been doing double work with the Brunswick County folks, that they had a dual remote meeting, and expanding some of those capabilities. So just holding the infrastructure together is That's my job. That's my lane. I know where I'm at.
Man, I was talking to my managing editor last night. We were an entire day trying to get a Skype call to work, and I'm like, man, we hijacked an entire radio show and radio station and ran it out of garage and it worked, and I can't get Skype to work. It's like, what the crap?
Well, that's a Microsoft product, so I'll just leave it there. That's why we're using Google Meet.
Harsh, but fair. No, that's what I did. I dumped it back over to Zoom and Google Meet are basically the same thing at this point.
Oh.
Because my Zoom goes straight to my Google. So I was like, I'm putting you on Zoom and it's going to work fine, which it did. And it was on his end. It wasn't mine because I've done TMZ on Skype. I've done Times Radio in UK. People don't, the London Times, the Times, that's the most read newspaper in the world. Like, it has 3 times the circulation of the New York Times. Like, that's a big deal. They use Skype. Young Turks uses Skype. Fox News uses Skype. I'm the 21st. I'm doing the Fox News Radio car wash again. A lot of those companies, they'll use Skype again for a lot of those. It's just, I know it works. It was something on his end. It's just one of those things.
Yep. But that's fun for us technicians. I mean, I've scaled the operation down even further that it now fits under my bed. So I have all the production, all the broadcast, all of the programming consolidated to a small little spot that I can pretty much fit in a suitcase and take with me if we need to.
Yeah.
So anytime you need to, have a convention, a speech, a meeting, a PowerPoint, or some sort of keynote, let us know. We'd love to cover it.
Happy to talk about it on the show. Go ahead and send it over.
That's what I'm thinking. Now, one of the things Chad and I were discussing was the difference in culture over the past, when he and I were kids and the kids of today, like, there was some shaming, some, I guess, what would today would be considered bullying, and I started having a little bit of a flashback that, we are rewording everything, much like Putin calling a war a special military operation. As long as we change the words, we can do whatever we need with it.
Basically, yeah, true.
So I don't mean to,
problem.
Yeah, I don't mean to fat shame Americans, but, we have an obesity problem, and I don't know how else to address it. Right? I mean, I need friends that are going to be honest with me, and I would hope that we can do that without taking offense as our first reaction. Right? I mean, I had a guy come to me the other day, and he was apologizing because he misunderstood my inquiry into his health and condition, not as anything other than coming from a space of empathy, but his own personal response was by default to be defensive. And once he understood, as I walked away and didn't really, engage anymore, my entire thing was, didn't mean to bother you. I'm sorry. I understand it's a personal thing. Meant no offense whatsoever. Once he understood that I was honestly concerned, that what you're going through really, really sucks, and I hope you're having a, decent recovery. It took a minute for him to get past his own defense, automatic defense, and I think that's where we are stuck as a country, as a culture, is that we're stuck on this automatic defense rather than accepting, like a coach would, like a vocal coach or a guitar coach, a musician coach, a writer coach, that you take their critique into consideration when improving yourself. And we seem to no longer be able to accept that.
Correct.
Is there... I think, and again, this is why I write so much about arts in our culture, is that the arts, I think, allow us to separate the personal response from a platonic understanding, like a disconnected response. We can look at a piece of art.
I don't know how platonic is, because people sure love to hump it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on, and it sort of devalues the entire process of the art in the first place. As opposed to understanding, like when we look at the American Gothic, the farmer and his wife in front of the church with the pitchfork, we all have different reactions to that, and that's by design. What we see in that is our own development in response to what's going on around us. Some of us look on that and say, man, I really miss those Amish, Puritan, easier days, and others are looking at it on, this is some creepy American Gothic stuff, right? We don't have, there's no set rule to say this is what art is, and we're not supposed to. It's supposed to be our visceral response to life. but we seem to have a problem with that. Art has been hijacked to be used, in a number of ways, much like the word gay, in places where we can no longer access it or even rebuke it. Right? Because it's now in advertising. It's now, common rhetoric to say things that are untrue. And it's now part of our vernacular to be to hijack everything around us to use for some sort of profitable marketing campaign, slogan, even if it's for a movement. Right? Because God's rainbow has been hijacked by the Pride movement, and now we have a whole disconnect of two groups of people that can't agree on a rainbow.
I keep having to keep telling people, it's like, we're halfway through Pride Month, and Pride Month's not going to hurt you. Just everybody calm down.
Right. And the whole thing is, it's a 42-degree phenomena, meaning a rainbow is a physical phenomena between light and water. And how it became all of everything that it has become with the amount of weight that's been attached to it is just mind-bending. What is wrong with us? Why do we feel this need?
Boredom, mostly.
Is that it?
Mostly.
We no longer have to hunt our food and grow our crops and chase, fight off coyotes.
Correct.
Well, then, I think we should do away with cell phones and handguns and be left with bows, arrows, and rocks and see where it goes.
Yeah, that's not going to go well.
Oh, man. Well, it would reduce the population of useless idiots. Which, by the way, using that term might get me in jail for a year in Japan. I don't know if you heard about their new law that's on the books. Wanted to see what your take on cyberbullying would be in this regard. Because apparently an insult is considered cyberbullying, where I'm thinking if somebody doesn't like me and says stupid stuff on my website or on my Facebook page, I can delete, I can pass by, I can close, I can quit,
Here's
I can
the problem
walk
with
away.
cyberbullying, and I get it because people put you voluntarily put most of your life online, so some of it you've got to take a little responsibility for. The other thing is you can turn off online whenever you want. So yeah, it's bullying, yeah, it's bad, but there's also a whole lot of control that can be exerted over there. Now, if you've put so much of your life online that one comment online ruins your life, then you've also somewhat set yourself up for failure in the first place. But no, I don't want anybody to be bullied. It's a terrible thing, but that didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened in a sequence.
And if your life is so dependent on social media for your validation, then I really am going to have a hard time crying for you.
Yeah.
Because you could have developed yourself independently outside of that. I mean, there are people, if you are a celebrity, as this person was claimed to be, usually you have management handle your social media. And here in America, we even have fantastic YouTube videos of celebrities reading mean tweets. I think that's a Jimmy Kimmel thing, isn't it?
Various people have done it. It's pretty popular.
Yeah, and it's funny as heck because, you understand, as Chad pointed out, that it's usually them just trying to express because they don't know how to use a crayon, right? So they want to yell and deface somebody else's content, like in Chad's case, they call up or post on his page all kinds of crazy silliness that he put up with for a while because he knew that it wasn't him. And that's a hard thing to understand, and I don't know where else we're going to learn that, whether it's, social media or if it's going to be in the school or what it takes to sort of develop that slightly thicker skin so that we're not as, personally offended by every little thing that happens. It's not, I don't know. I don't know how else to put it. And it's sort of that shaming thing that at some point, if you're being stupid, I want my friends to, hey, that's being stupid.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't
but
know
it's
if
10
that's-
o'clock and the stupid has to stop.
I would guess that's the difference between like an echo chamber and a circle of friends.
A circle jerk.
Yeah, that started the Friday off well.
There you go. That's the end of the show, folks. We'll see you on Monday.
We will, and we will have new material for you. We will have new guests for you. And right now, you're going to catch some news and weather from WAY. And we will see you next week right here on the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Take care, folks.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. The hand-to-eye recount in the New Hanover County Board of